Hi, this is Ida Quita, and welcome to episode 4 of the walkthrough of the HackerRank C language track. In this episode, we'll be going through the functions challenge. Yep, we're taking it out of order because the for loop challenge gets much easier when you have functions under your belt. As usual, I'll show what my process is, point out C++ tips and potential pitfalls, but you really need to do this yourself to get value out of the challenge. Be sure and get a HackerRank account of your own so you can. Note that the first 3 episodes are up in a playlist, and if you haven't watched all 3 of the prior ones, go ahead and watch them now. Also note that the website, the HackerRank website we'll be working on, and all the content from HackerRank is their copyright material, which I'm using for educational fair use purposes. Okay, let's get going. As I said, we're skipping the for loop challenge and going right to functions. Functions are a great way to expand the capability and complexity of your code while maintaining readability. A function encapsulates a block of capability, of functionality, a group of actions that need to be taken that are logically connected. They can optionally return a result, and that result is of type return type. The return type void is a special return type that has no value, means the function returns no value, has no result. The function name, which is how you call a function, well, we've done that before. Printf and scanf are both functions. You give the name of the function followed by arguments. Well, what do those arguments need to be? In the function definition, you give that. And these look a lot like variable declarations, a type and a name, a type and a name. And the arguments that the caller specifies have to be compatible with those types, and the values passed from the caller are substituted in for the arguments as if they had been right here. What's a good example? Well, the first example here is this sum of 4 function. It's got a name. A good name, it says, I'm summing up 4 things. It has 4 inputs. They're all of type int, and it has a result of type int as well. The math here is a computation of their sum. Plus equals is a new operator. It says add whatever's on the right to the variable on the left. And when we're done, we return that result. Okay, in this challenge, what do we need to do? We need to have a function that has this signature. When you have a return type, a name, and the argument types, that's called a signature, which takes 4 arguments and returns the greatest of them. Let's grab that and put it in our comments. There's an input format and an output format, but then the PS is, oh yeah, we're taking care of that for you. As the challenges in HackerRank get more complex, more of the code is predefined for you, and you have a very specific piece of code you need to write. Well, that matches how code is often done in the real world. Let's add our comment and point out the comment that's here. First, take 4 arguments, return the greatest of them. You'll notice this is in the same color as that because this is another form of comment. This is a multi-line comment. Anything between /* and * is a comment. I'm going to uncomment this code and turn it into valid C++. They gave us a signature. Why not use it? And again, what does a signature tell us? That our result is of type int, that our inputs are 4 integers that are going to come to us in the form of variables, the names given here, A, B, C, and D. So we need to take the maximum of 4 values. Well, we saw that it was pretty straightforward to compare 2 values. A is greater than B. I can ask that. And I could create a complex set of ifs that would compare A and B and C and D and eventually come up with a result from 4. But let's take a tip from the sports world and let's turn this into a set of one-on-one comparisons. In other words, let's write another function max of 2. We already know how to compare two things. We have comparison operators that compare two things. So let's go ahead and create a function that does compare two things. What would that look like? Well, one way to write it is to define our result, max, and then using the conditional statements we've learned about, if A is greater than B, what value should max have? Well, since A is greater than B and we want the greatest, then max should be A. Is there any other case? No, there's only the else. If A is not greater than B, then the maximum must be B, or frankly, the two could be equal, and then it doesn't matter which one we return. Are we done? Hang on, we're not. We haven't returned a value. What value should we return? The one we computed, max. Now that I can compare two things, if I say max of AB is max of 2 of A and B. Well, what have I said here? I'm saying that I'm defining a new variable, max AB, that gives us the maximum value, the greatest of A or B, using max of 2. Well, then I can simply do the same thing for C and D. The max of 2 of C and D. Well, now I have two values. I can simply return the max of 2 of the max of AB and the maximum of CD. You can think of this almost as a playoff system. The greatest, the winner of this playoff got into max AB, the winner of this playoff got into max CD, and then the champion, the greatest, gets returned here. Well, let's see if we got it. We did. Well, what would some of the mistakes look like? Let's create a mistake right here by commenting out a return. We comment out the return, we get a compiler error. It says we don't have a return statement in a function returning non-void. Remember I said void means no result. Okay, that's a good error. No return statement. Well, what if I made some other mistake? Imagine I did this. I compare instead A and D. I might in fact pass. In this case, it didn't. One of the comparisons failed. And so you would be left with wondering what you did wrong. Something you can do to debug is use standard error. And I like using colons to set things off. And then do that again. I tend to use endl in debug outputs because endl flushes the output. It comes immediately out to the console. So if there is some process that's going on or taking time, you may not see that output, and it also may not be correctly merged with a standard out if you're looking at a console. But this just guarantees I see it. So let's run it and see what we see. Well, we know this is A, B, C, and D. And standard error says the greatest of A and B is 4. Okay, I can believe that. And this says the greatest of C and D is 5. Well, that means I did something wrong in my comparison of C and D. And sure enough, I did. I never compared C with D. Now I can run it again. Standard error is a really good way to do debugging when you're running a test case that's almost correct. Beware if you put a lot of things to standard error on some of the test cases that run a long time, you may get an error that your test didn't complete in the allowed time. Well, output takes a lot of time, so before you submit anything, at least comment out your diagnostic code. Let's go ahead and submit this against all the test cases. And we're done. Well, this looks pretty good. We could try other errors. If I didn't have all of my variables here, I would get an error that said there isn't a, if I had, for example, if I just said A, B, and C, you'd see a compiler error that would say there wasn't a function that took 4 arguments. And there it is. Too many arguments in the function. I'm giving it 4 and it expected to see 3. And of course, that's my fault for messing this up. Those are the kinds of errors you're going to see, but this one's pretty straightforward if you break it down and do it into simple parts. And that's another piece of learning about functions. Sometimes the best function you can write is written out of more than one function, called more than once, so you never have to duplicate any logic. Well, I hope you enjoyed this and you learned something from it. And I hope to see you on episode 5 when we do the for loop. And with the for loop, with functions, and with conditionals, we really have some powerful tools to solve complex problems in C++. So I'll see you then. Bye.